why you should pick Catalyst. Its services, its use cases, success stories, and beyond that we have something for you that is specially designed. So I am a solution architect. This means in my daily job I speak to people like you trying to figure out what are the business challenges that they face. The first thing that I hear about everyone telling me is one size doesn't fit all. So we have SaaS applications at Zoho as well, where we have multiple platforms like CRM, desk, but not every SaaS platform meets every business requirement. There are custom needs and requirements unique to your business. So this is something that I hear every day. The next thing I've heard is inability to scale. So you build a POC, you just have something that works, and what do you do next? How do you make it scale? It's not designed for that. What's the next thing I hear about? Well, it's the focus on ops instead of building apps. So they have a DevOps team of 20 plus people while they have 5 or 6 application developers. This is becoming the sad reality in multiple cases. Next we have deployments. So major deployment costs. Anyone who's used AWS, GCP, I'm sure you've received your cloud bill and you've been wondering, you've given your credit card details, I hope this month's going to be fine. So this is something we've heard about as well. And finally, the steep learning curve. Every time we say you can build this on a pro code platform, we think people feel a little intimidated and we want to make this easier for them. So what do? We are a technology company at Zoho with 25 plus years of experience building apps, frameworks and data centers globally. Every Zoho app runs on our own data center and we have our internal frameworks as well. So we want to use this to empower developers. So any developer who wants to build their own app will be able to do it on Zoho's reliable infrastructure. So our infrastructure, our frameworks, our data centers are privacy centric, and so we believe in privacy, privacy first. Every layer in the tech stack has been built internally, and this is provided for custom application development through Catalyst. So our powerful tech stack is now yours to use. If there's a citizen developer, any developer who's just working out of his home is able to host their application on Zoho's infrastructure. So we support 80 million plus users at Zoho. We have 55 plus applications, and it is this infrastructure that your app can run on. Well, what is Catalyst? Catalyst is a pro-code full stack development platform. Basically, whatever you want to write and run, you can do that on Catalyst, whether that's a web app, mobile app, a microservice, or REST API, an extension, an integration, and much more. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. So we have multiple components that act as building blocks. So this is like Lego blocks, for instance. You'll be able to mix and match this to come up with new combinations. So each of these blocks that you look at can be used in a different application depending on context. So I can use data store in a mobile app and so on. So this is what we provide, limitless extensibility for you to pick and choose components you need. So we believe in enabling seamless software development life cycles. It starts out with local debugging. So compared to other competitors, right? So we have a lot of platforms that provide disintegrated development setups to you. So the way our development setup works is, starts out in local debugging. You write your code, you push it to the development sandbox. All the developers and testing team gets to test it. Once you're happy, you ship it to production. So every time you ship an application to production, you can keep iterating on it in development. This way you're able to push your applications with confidence to production while you can iterate on it in development. We're also the only provider providing a fully free sandbox. So a fully free sandbox basically means you can build your app for free, test it for free, and once you deploy, we provide up to 125 million free invocations. As you can see, this is a stark contrast compared to what others do, but this is because of what we believe in. We believe in empowering entrepreneurs, we believe in empowering small businesses that are starting out with their applications, and that's the reason we provide an affordable cost. And this is a pay-per-use model, so let's say in a month you don't use it, you don't have to pay for Catalyst. This is like Uber versus hiring a taxi service. So if you take an Uber, you don't need the Uber, you don't pay for it. Same goes for Catalyst, whereas with other service providers, you might have to hire it. So everything in Catalyst is serverless, whereas in other providers, you have to provision it. So you pay for it for a month, you pay for it for a week, but with Catalyst, you pay for an invocation. So we've got 30 plus microservices at Catalyst. These are microservices that are available at Zoho. So these are tested on 80 million plus users, and that's our strength. So we have 80 million plus users using these applications, and we'll be able to give it to you for custom app development. Let's say facial recognition. It runs in Zoho People, which has millions of users. So you are going to use an API that has been tested by so many million users across data centers globally. So we give you that reliability using Catalyst. So what do we have at Catalyst? We have multiple services. We have a no-code platform, we have chatbots, we have multiple services, and we'll just go through each of them very quickly. So we have something called QuickML, which is a no-code tool. Let's say you have a lot of data sitting around. You want to understand how can you use this data to provide better insights. This could be related to retention. This could be related to cross-sell and upsell. So you have a lot of data sitting around. You want to understand what products do they purchase? Why do customers leave your product? These analytics can be derived by just plugging into your data source. So this is something we offer as a service. Again, pay per use. So you'll be able to just drag and drop the algorithms in your canvas and you're good to go. Next we have an automated browser. So let's say you want to run UI automation testing, you want to run a web crawler, and we've got you covered for that. So we have an example use case as well. Let's say there's a new lead in CRM. I'm going to run a browser script. I'm going to crawl through all the contact information, save it back in the CRM, and probably send them a customized email about it. So let's say they are from the healthcare industry. I send them a specific email related to that. So I get this done through an AI tool, but I'm able to automate the entire process. This is a second offering. We have an NLU-based chatbot, so in case any of you are interested in that, so we'll be able to schedule tasks, we'll be able to provide relevant information. This is something I'm hoping to demo as well, which is our AI suite. This is completely built in-house, so we provide object recognition, facial comparison, and much more through our AI suite. We have pre-built code packages that can be deployed on a single click. Think about it, 200, 2,000 lines of code. How many other lines of code? You just click on a button and we deploy it for you in your instance. How powerful could this be for people who are starting out? And you can contribute as well. So let's say you have an idea, all you have to do is I'll show you the process. You can just send us your idea. We'll be able to help you through the process. You can build, share this out, and anytime someone uses your code deck, and when someone uses your code lib, you'll be able to receive a part of what we get out of it. So let's say you're unable to find what you're looking for, you can build it on your own using Catalyst. Here are a couple of very quick examples. I'll be happy to chat about each of these with you later if you're interested. So Saint Gobain was able to build on Catalyst. They built their application to connect to an SFTP server. They were able to build it in a week and deploy it in a day. We had Deloitte build something really specific to their vertical. They were able to build using the development sandboxes that I mentioned, right? So a stable version in production while iterating in development, and they found that very useful. We have a lot of partners building. So this was a use case where for the real estate vertical, they wanted to show how the floor plan was located in a web UI. They were able to do that using Catalyst. A CMS tool completely built and hosted on Catalyst. We have an electric vehicle manufacturer who runs their backend on Catalyst. So anytime there is, so they have multiple electrical vehicles operating. These sensors send in data related to what issues they face, the temperature, and all this is tracked in our backend. Anytime there's an issue, we send them an alert. So I'm going through these in like rapid fire right now, but in case any of these are interesting to you, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. So also anytime there's a SaaS portal involved, a completely customized SaaS portal, it's possible to build that using Catalyst. This has been built for multiple Zoho products, and we have several partners who built and deployed this for customers. So product roadmap, I'm just going to go through this very quickly. There's something you see, if something catches your eye, I'll be happy to discuss it. So when should you think about Catalyst? Well, if you have any customization requirements, whatever they need be, then Catalyst is a good fit there. If you're looking for your application to auto-scale, all components to auto-scale, then again Catalyst can be a good fit. If you're looking to focus on apps and leave the back-end infrastructure to someone else, then Catalyst is a good fit for you. If you're looking to make sure that deployments are easier on the back, you have proper budget alerts, and you have a privacy-first approach, then Catalyst is a good fit. Finally, if you're looking to build and ship applications faster, then Catalyst is a good fit. But given all this, if you have a question of, I have an app, is Catalyst a good fit? We're always happy to answer that for you. I'll show you the process. We would like to support anyone who's building an app over here. So in case you have an app idea or you're working on something, we'll keep this open for the weekend. So all you have to do is we'll show you the sign-up process. You can just come and sign up with your details. We will help you. We will handhold you through the process of building your app on Catalyst. We'll handpick 2 or 3 ideas that we're fond of, and we'd like to help you through your journey. So all you have to do is fill up the form with details of your app, and we'll be there to assist you. So what can you get out of it? One-on-one assistance. You'll have our numbers. You'll be able to talk to us, brainstorm, build with us. Okay. This is called demo time, so I'm going to go on to the demo. I had 3 levels of demo planned. How long do we have?
Yeah, 9 minutes. You're good.
You have time. You have time. Time? Yeah. Great. So I have 3 levels of demos planned. We'll see how this works in terms of time. But the first level is just an AI API. So I'll just show you this on the Catalyst console. I just want you to look at how simple it is to use. So I'm opening up the Catalyst console. In case anyone has your laptop, you can do so as well. I'm just going to open up a random project I have. Please don't judge me for my project names. I know they aren't right. I just named them very quickly. I hope a few of you do that as well. Okay, let that load. So what we've done is we've provided, let's take the example of object recognition. It requires a lot of pre-training. So you'd have to classify the objects. You'd have to pre-train your model. We've done this already at Zoho. So all you have to do is call the REST API endpoint and you'll be able to basically access the API, right? So zero training, you just start a request with the image and you're done. So let me just show you an example. I'm opening up the demo app, so all of you will have this app. Whenever you try, you'll have this in your console. I just love how you can just upload an image and see results right there. So I'll show you one of the sample images we've got. I'll upload an image and it will be able to detect multiple objects with bounding box of course to show you what is present in the image. This usually requires a little bit of training, but this is an API on a pay-per-use and we've done the training for you already. Great. So this is the console. All I have to do is select an image. I'm going to go ahead and choose object recognition because that's my favorite, but in case you would like to try something else, we'll do one text-based API as well. So I'm going to just select from a sample image. Okay. Okay. So each of these boxes contain an image, and let's do a text-based API. Probably that will be quicker. But basically, when you select an image, you'll be able to see the results right there. Let's try again. Okay. Let's go for a text-based first.
Wi-Fi is kind of slow, probably.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I'll just get some sample text. So I've just selected some sample text and I want to see the sentiment behind this. So as you can see, this is a neutral text. We'll be able to do keyword analysis, we'll be able to do positive, negative, neutral filtering, but this is something I'm able to do on a click of a button, and that is what we want to empower you to do. So ideally, this would mean setting up a function, writing your own code, making sure that this integrates well, testing, and we are just able to cut this short for you in terms of the development process. So this is just an example, but we will be able to do keyword filtering, we'll be able to do more analysis based on this. I wanted to show you how quick it is. It took me a second to click on the button and get data. You'll be able to see we have the SDK code right there. So all I have to do is copy paste this code. If you think this works for you, all you have to do is copy paste this code and you're good to go. And that's how quickly we help you build with Catalyst. Well, this is one of the things I wanted to show you. This is something anyone can check. This has no development involved. We have samples for you. But let's say you are a developer and you want to check something. Then you can check our polls app. That is the app that I opened up right now. It helps you run digital polls. So why am I showing you 3 different examples? I want you to see a range of things that are possible with Catalyst. This is one. That is the next one. So as you can see on the left panel, you'll be able to see a list of features. Each of these are services that I spoke about. ConvoCraft, QuickML. Each of these services have multiple features in them. So let's just go ahead. I think there's going to be some lag. So I'm going to skip the second part. I'm going to go ahead with the third part. Great. So in this part, I've just tried out something very simple. I've used ChatGPT. You can use any AI tool. So I'm going to generate my code using that tool and deploy it on Catalyst. So let's assume I am a developer, but I don't know, I'm a beginner developer, so I don't have enough experience. So I'm just going to click on play. Okay. Click on play. right? So I've given a prompt saying I want to connect to a MySQL database, and in my database, I'll have a list of restaurants. I want to figure out which are the Michelin star restaurants. So this is all I do. This is all that I did. And the code was generated automatically through GPT. So I copy paste that code on my console and I'm good to go. Okay, it's loaded. So all I did was type a prompt, and for that you don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to be a developer. You type your prompt, you'll be able to get the code. I just copy pasted that on Catalyst and I'm good to go. So this is how we simplify the process. So this is my ChatGPT screen. I'm using the OpenAI Playground. So all I did was I gave the prompt to say I want to query a list of Michelin star restaurants. I want to connect to a MySQL database and generate Java code. So I just received the code from OpenAI. So the next step is I'm going to initialize my Catalyst project. So we've used the Catalyst CLI. So I'll just open the CLI. I'm creating a directory and I'm calling it MySQL connector. Of course, I'm doing a CD. So this is the Catalyst init command. I use this to create a Catalyst project. So once the project is created, I'm choosing a portal and a project name. Again, my project names are a little different, but that's okay. So I've given my project a name and I'm all good. So right now I can choose functions and client. Functions are the compute portion. Client is the UI that you create. So we have React, we have web client, basic web clients, and we have AngularJS support. And I'm choosing an advanced IO function. I'm choosing Java as my language. So I have to name the class as well. But best part is all this is configuration, right? This is not code. So in terms of code, I write none. I just take my code from GPT and paste it here. Well, I'm not recommending everyone does this. As long as you verify your code, you're good. But in terms of productivity, this is going to help you. So this is your boilerplate, after which you'll be able to edit. So this whole setup, the deployment took me less than 5 minutes. So if you had to do this with a good Wi-Fi, it takes you less than 5 minutes to get this done. If you're able to connect to a MySQL database in less than 5 minutes and query, that is being a beginner developer, that's just power in your hands, right? You'll be able to unlock that power in a pay-per-use model, ship your apps faster. So this is Clever Cloud. They provide free MySQL hosting. I'm not from Clever Cloud. I don't recommend, but I wanted a sample, so I just connected to Clever Cloud. And this is the output I got. So all I did was give ChatGPT my code. I did the configuration, and that's it. So the code is right from AI. Again, I would always recommend validating the code. I'm not saying you can take the code as is, but with a platform that's as simple as Catalyst and with the power of AI tools, you'll be able to develop even faster and ship your applications faster. So this is just an example. We'll share this with you, of course. Feel free to take a look, and in case you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them.
I have a question.
Of course.
This is really cool. I love seeing this. I would love to understand, like, what is it that I have to technically be able to do in order to leverage Catalyst, and what do I no longer have to technically understand because Catalyst will do it for me?
That's a great question, Sami. So, what should you know? If you're a developer and you know the basics, if you can set up a project, that's all you need to do. In terms of the code, if you're able to verify the code, if you're able to validate it, you're good. So, what do you need? Basic programming skills. What don't you need? A big development team, a lot of infrastructure, because we take care of your infrastructure, we take care of monitoring. So, yeah, that's basically it.
You also mentioned that people can apply, that you're going to help 2 or 3 people.
Thank you so much.
So if let's say I don't know a lot about, I don't know how to set up a project. That looked a little complicated for me personally. If we still have what we think is a good idea and we apply to that, would you be able to help us set up the project?
Of course. So all we need is your idea. So you can apply with your idea, and as long as we find that interesting and doable on Catalyst, we'll reach out to you. We'll help you set up your project. We'll help you create and deploy. So we'll help you through the entire process. We're just looking to work with you in case you have an interesting idea and are looking for tech help.
Awesome.
We could do one more question and then we'll kick into the next one.
Audience question?
Okay.
Thank you.
I have some questions, but I'll save it for the end. Yeah. Thank you.
We'll have a meet and greet time.
All right, next we have Dan Hugo, who's going to be speaking about open transit. While he gets set up, just a couple of announcements. One, we are going to have a little mini Kubernetes workshop following this meetup for the Vegas Programmers meetup. So if Kubernetes interests you, definitely take a look at that. And on the 24th of June, we're actually going to have like a 2-hour-long workshop offsite down over. You can check out our meetup.com, go to Vegas Programmers, you get all the details there. Also, Sammy just left, but shout out to Sammy. She's been helping me organize this, so I appreciate her. Thank you so much. Always good to have the community reach out and bear some of the burden of putting these things all together. And again, just a reminder, if you do have a demo you want to pitch, scan the QR code or grab one of my cards or visit phpvegas.com and you can submit the form there and we'll get you lined up. I think we only have one more spot left for next month. HTML presentations, always award-winning. Yes, is it F11? Outside. I can put you make the full screen. Full screen. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Can you hear me? All right. So, how many people here ride the bus?
I ride a bus or do hurt?
Do you ride public transit in Las Vegas? Then I chose Greg. So it turns out, I was thinking this week, and it occurred to me, Innovate Vegas is a year old. In June 16th, on June 16th. Our first hackathon was open transit. Now, as I will get to in the first couple of slides, we're a little behind schedule. So I figured I would like to talk about our organization because I would like to ask, speaking of participation with the community, I'd like more people to know what we're doing and possibly take part. And as it happens, this whole morning has been talking to people like Doc, running for mayor, Jamie Schwartz, do you know Jamie Schwartz? Various other people about some of the things we're working on, how they all fit together. So I think this will be interesting if you see something interesting and you want to participate for you to do so. All right, so the state of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. This is not, okay, that's we done. Okay, so we formed on June 16th. Our actual first hackathon was approximately 2 months ago, a year ago, so we're about a year old. We formed as a nonprofit corporation. We later went on to get our 501c3 determination, so we're a real live public charity trying to make our smart city smarter. First, the bad news. Yeah, okay. So, participation is very low. We have a hackathon every month, which I'll get to, that's part of the good news. We have a hackathon every month to work on projects. There are several projects, they are all completely viable. Interest is very low. What we end up with is a lot of people feign interest, as in, I would like to participate, and then they don't continue. That's sort of expensive in time, it's also expensive in morale. Not so expensive in resources, our expenses are nearly zero, which is nice. But it is not great, so participation could always be more. We're only a year old. Disconnect volunteers, by the way. People just don't see the value of volunteering their time, and that there is a forward-looking return on that investment of time that I actually have mapped out and have actually described. Maybe I will today. So right now it's an army. Sorry. Right now it's an army of one, and you are looking at the entire army right now. No offense, actual army. Other bad news, Code for America disbanded all of their brigades all around the country. They did it en masse, fairly quickly and painfully for some. Luckily, we were not a brigade. We were in 2014 to 16 when Josh Copeland was among several people in the first cadre of folks doing civic volunteerism. This time we reformed as an independent organization. They are not great actors to work with in these modern times, so not like the good old days. They also done attribute their work to volunteers, only to the paid employees of the organization. So we were happy to not be a part of that. Now the good news, because bad news is boring. So good news, there's more good news than bad. Must be body water. We have hackathons. We have hackathons every month in the Innovation Center. Attendance can vary from me to me and also me. Sometimes there's a group of people, sometimes they don't return the following month. So continuity is difficult. I'll get to some other stuff we're doing to try to make that work. But there's a wearable hackathon happening right now. I will be submitting a project on the 31st of May. I'll get to the podcast stuff later. I had a nice long conversation with the person driving it. She's a PhD physicist from Harvard. So, yeah, what did she know? Quantum? No, it was a great conversation, very smart. She's applying all her knowledge and experience to sustainable and high-tech fashion. So I suggested we could build a she's embedding flexible solar panels in clothing. I said, what about a cooling garment for homeless people in the desert? And she said, please do it. So I'm doing it if anybody wants to join in. 31st of May. Becker Tech Center just opened on April 1st on Ward 2, I can't remember exactly where it is. Very nice facility, 3D printers, computers, podcast production facility. I had a nice podcast with Priscilla Scott, who runs the facility. Very interesting. She's got a lot of big plans. They're having a hackathon for younger hackers in July, so I'm helping them coordinate that. Global Space Apps is a global hackathon sponsored by NASA. There was a team in Las Vegas in 2018. That was the last time there was. So this year, I am the lead. How that happened? I got the job. So Global Space Apps 7 and 8 October. So if you are interested at all in space, look us up. So there's a website for that, and we'll start getting the word out. The first meeting of the team leads is next Tuesday, so I will know a ton more after that. So keep your eyes peeled. And of course, we have the monthly hackathon meetups at the Innovation Center every month. We have multiple projects. We have new projects for 2023, and we have special projects. Our base projects are our own infrastructure. So, for example, our website, our cloud infrastructure deployment, orchestration, and so on. Open data capture. I've talked to some people today that are interested in database applications. Open data is a huge component of most of the things that are planned moving forward. It was the reason that Code for Vegas formed back in 2014. It remains important. I actually had a nice podcast with 2 people in the city, only 2, Anthony and Nicole, who are running the Geographic Information Systems group in the city. They deal with open data. So we're talking about how we can add more data to it, make better use of it. Be local. I was just speaking, we're going to get some NFL discussions going on about extending our economy beyond Nevada. So you could be a virtual local, a Vegas local. Our key projects are open transit, of course. I actually ride bus. I sold my car when I stopped using it when I was traveling so much for Intel. So I use the bus. The company that provides the telemetry data for our real-time bus system here is a alum of my college, so I know him personally. I attend their webinars. I'm all in. We need to fix the huge project. So I'm personally invested in that project, so I'm spending some actual time on that, which is why you don't get a demo today, because I'm here instead of working. Smart Social is proper, it's a way for our smart city to talk outside, right? So proper calendars, proper chat, communications, whatnot, news feeds, and things like this. So following good old standards, interoperable. And our good projects. My Days, welcome. These are basically human interfaces to our smart city. Volunteer stuff, I'll get to that when the Super Bowl is closer. And accessibility is a big thing. If you've ever tried to get around the city and you are not completely with vision, hearing, or completely ambulatory, you probably have run into some problems there. So I've actually talked to Public Works and some other people about kind of opening that can of worms, and it will be. That's important. If it's not important, do now. We have special projects, so part of Smart Social will be a Mastodon server, not necessarily to take over Twitter, but as a un-algorithmed newsfeed source. Talks at Vegas, we announced this morning. It will be here, next Tech Alley at 9 a.m. We're going to kick that off. It's going to be to entertain, inform, and educate. So not pitches, not demos, but talking about anything from how to make an espresso to how to change the world. but not what you're selling. Talks about Vegas. FACE is the Focused Attention Calendars for Everyone. It's a whole program I've been talking about with Downtown Vegas Alliance, so that'll more on that later. Our Create For and Code For inclusivity campaign. So when we first reformed Code for Vegas, there was a notion that I'm not a coder, therefore I am not welcome. So Innovate for Vegas was a nice name change to fit in an innovation district, Innovate for Vegas, and so on. So we still maintain a Create For and Code For notion, so that picture at the beginning with the KFC and the Taco Bell is, it's two different entrances to the same dining, right? So it's, you can be a Create For type person or a Code For or both, but you're all going to end up working together. Hopefully the food will be better. And a few more collaborations. I'm not exactly going to say who with yet, but it's a cool studio. They love hackathons. Yeah, really cool makerspace. Our ethos is inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility. So inclusivity, I sort of hinted at with the people that are not just coding, but who want to be civic volunteers and have contributions to the communities recognized in some way or put to good use. Diversity is just like it sounds. We are absolutely failing in that area. Need to do better. Accessibility is just a thing that will always be important. So, we ideate, innovate, and implement. That's what hackathons are for, really. You don't necessarily have to complete a project, but it's certainly a place to start and share ideas and come up with possible solutions. We have adapted Agile to an Agile for Volunteers model, which means we can also spend time on user stories and deciding what we want to build and how we want to build it, and work with our Create For side. So how do we test it? How do we interact with users? If we're building it for somebody who rides a bus, for example, we should talk to the people on the bus, which I do all the time. Good. And then implement, well, that's the point. So I made our logo. I know it shows. I like the black and white theme. This is actually a complete SVG, so I can style any element and all that weird stuff. But it does capture everything I just described. So if you go on the left side there, it's ideate, innovate, implement. If you go on the right side, it's inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility. The upper left icon, in this case, is for podcasts, which we'll get to in a moment. The open source, everybody knows that one. Right? Don't need to explain that. And then, of course, Nevada with the starburst from the fabulous Las Vegas sign placed directly over Las Vegas. There's some space there for some additional files for Code For and Create For. I would love it if the Code For and Create For cadres that we gather will contribute to this in some way. I would like those sites to kind of be owned by the actual participants. So, Innovate for Vegas for the business side, if you will, the donations and the structure and whatnot, and then everything else left to our extensive list of volunteers. So part of one way to get out to people is to talk to them. So I've had some cool guests recently. Dr. Kitty Young, out there, she's a PhD physicist. She's actually in Frankfurt. So it was 3 in the morning here when we did it. I probably sound a little tired. Tara Hernandez, in the upper right there. When I worked at Netscape, she was responsible for building from a common source base the Netscape Navigator client for 42 different platforms. So anytime today you're like, oh, I have to build this for 2 platforms, Tara can, she used to walk around with hockey sticks and threaten people who wrote the bill. Good old days. A very interesting person. She works at Mongo now, developer relations. Open Data Everywhere was with Anthony Nicola. I referred to him. That was a really fascinating discussion. And Priscilla Scott, I mentioned, she's the director at the Governor Tech Center. So they're doing a little hackathon program and trying to get more young people involved, which is the best time. It's the second best time. The best time. The second best time is now. The best time is when they're young. Business guests are upper left there, Sean Looker. Josh probably remember Sean. Maybe the rest of you do not. Oh, I do. So Sean lives in Tennessee now. He just moved actually this weekend. So he's our other board member. He was the co-founder and co-captain of the original Code for Vegas. We had a very nice discussion. We have him anyway, but we recorded this one. So good stuff. He's been 100% supportive, of course. I talked to Don Jacobson. He only listened to one podcast of any of the shows I've had in his dad. So Sean's cool guy. Mary Norris has been with Code for America for a while, no longer. She's one of the people that when you first started talking to Code for America, they said you should talk to Mary Norris, kind of the Jamie Schwartz of the Brigade network. So we've had ongoing conversations since January when I first explored this, so she was my first actual guest on the podcast. Tons of good stuff. We're going to have another episode about the breakups and whatnot. But mechanically very interesting. I'm thinking about asking Mary to join our board actually, because she does have tons of experience and knowledge. Been around, been there, done that, and now she's not part of Go From America. And then some other shows, I cover various topics. Up over left, second one over is the open transit thing we need to fix. So, local innovation by local innovators is one of our tropes. Hopefully it will catch on. The transit system software here is outsourced to, I think, 5 different companies, none of them in Nevada. They can all be in Nevada. We get free stuff from being a charity, by the way, which is kind of cool. If you ever want to start a nonprofit, become a charity, pretty cheap. So free Google Workspace. Google team, we do make some use of when people are contributing to projects, so I'm speaking future tense. Canva for some of the artwork and whatnot. OnWeCast, right? OnWeCaster is free podcast platform for nonprofits, so open source software, got a lot of more. So there's tons of free stuff. If you ever start a nonprofit, there's tons and tons of resources available to get you going, which is very useful. So for our second year, we're going to look at Agile for Volunteers for real. None of this dropping off some code and bailing, never see you again, that kind of stuff. So actual involvement with our specking, design, user story process, at least one iteration, actually complete something, make the time others spend with you worth something. This is part of the job skills development notion that's also kind of built into what we're trying to accomplish. We are going to start looking for volunteers beyond that. I know that sounds like a bummer, but projects don't do themselves, and they also don't work with just one person working on them. They take forever. So we need to start implementing. And there are people not in Nevada who are actually interested. And I've been saying, well, I think this really should be about local innovation by local innovators. But I'm lonely. Deploy labs projects. That's what we like to do. So the projects that I've described here will be deployed in our labs, which will be arm's length, not nonprofit, so that we can actually monetize and we can actually pay volunteers. I know that sounds crazy. It's a normal open source model. So as I say, I would love to work with people who want to work for free, but I also want them to be paid. So I don't want them to work for free, but I want to work with them if they want to work. Does that make sense? I don't want you to work for free. I want you to be paid. I want you to be paid too. It's an infinite game though, so even if it's just me, it could be another 10 years. I hope not. So that's it. We have a GitHub organization. If you'd like to know more of that, is the most up-to-date set of projects, specs, overview. You can add yourself to our organization if you are interested. I think Josh is still in from the old days, so you've probably checked this out already many times. So we're trying to, I'm trying to not go with email. We have a Discord server, but that kind of languished. I'm trying to keep the discussion about projects closer to the project, so if you are interested in any of these projects or suggesting a new one, and don't forget we have a hackathon meetup every month, always the weekend after Tech Alley, so how can you forget? info@innovateforvegas.org. You can email dhugo@go4vegas, but that was better. And we are going to switch the name, so my name is for legacy, but innovateforvegas.org is the future. And I think that's the last slide. So any questions, or thank you for your time anyway. Yes?
Our noobs welcome.
So by noob, I hope you mean you've kind of coded, and not everything is code. I'll speak in terms of code, but if you're a burgeoning artist, or you'd like to do some testing, or you want to be in marketing, or you want to do any of the things that are not just code but are still essential, then yes. Not necessarily great if you are looking for, like, I know nothing and I need to get started. That's probably a scenario where we need to have multiple people that could kind of mentor, mentee sort of thing. So I'm not totally against it, but I do know that as one person, if you would show up and it would just me and you, then I would have to spend 100%. Not that I'm saying that's bad, but if there's 10 people and then it starts to, I can't really scale. I don't scale well. That's just the way it is. So that's a really long answer. So mostly yes, but with caveats, I guess. So hopefully it'll be a learning community with various skill levels. That is like the agile coding scheme. I do pair programming, somebody junior and senior. So I'd love to see that more often, not just with coding, but with some other creative efforts. Yes.
Quick question. What languages are you using?
What is your tech stack? And I always have an answer that gets recoiling. None. So I spend too much time in Python. I should go back in time to my C and C++ days. Those are two separate things. I'm not going to get together. The Perl, Forth. I mean, I've done a ton of stuff in my 30 years plus. So Rust, Go, TypeScript, JavaScript, of course. There's all these different languages that are good for different things. I would like to have people come to the table with the language that they know. I'm actually really trying to push a polyglot, not necessarily microservices, but it could be. So I really like ports and adapters, if you're familiar, the hexagon pattern. So if we can kind of keep things in an isolated little app domain, the ports and adapter scheme, might make it easier if we start going polyglot to connect things, but I'd really like to branch out beyond just Python. I'm just lazy and I'm doing more Python now. PostgreSQL is my favorite database, but it doesn't have to be. I've contacted Mongo if we need one. So yeah, so another long answer, but it's basically, I'd rather people show up with the language that they like and start learning and sharing than dictate, because you're not being paid. Yeah. Does that answer? Okay. Yes.
I think it's great. I think it's very admirable that you want to volunteer and use your talent for the public good. But I'm watching this presentation, and you started with asking about the bus system, who uses the bus. Do you have a deal with RTC? Do you have what are you trying to build? I don't get it. And RTC has a great app that makes it very easy to see where the bus is going to be here in 3 minutes and all this kind of stuff. Are they expressed to you you want to replace that? And what are the types of projects that you're actually building?
Generally good question. So I listed the titles of the projects. We have our GitHub org, so if you want to check out more.
What's on the GitHub, as you said?
I will consider publishing it for the world to view. Okay. So on the GitHub, do you want me to read it, or will you visit it? Okay. So I'm going to guess you're going to go there and visit. Maybe you will. But if you don't want to, I will summarize. Open Transit, I had a multi-hour meetings with RTC. They are happy to discuss community developed projects because they pay a tremendous amount of money for Swiftly services for real-time telemetry and publishing of their GTFS feeds, real-time and schedule. Transit app is not. Are we done? Okay. So the short answer is yes, I've had meetings with them, and yes, they're interested in local innovation because they pay a tremendous amount of money for crap. I've had discussions with Transit app and Swiftly. They are not great companies. They do a barely sufficient job. It's not really good. We're good?
Yeah, one more if somebody's got one.
Yeah, one more question.
Yeah,
I can talk to you after this.
Sure. I was looking at the projects that you listed off, and then hearing you say that it's kind of one-man show at this point. I just kind of along same lines as what he was saying. I think you're gonna have a problem. You got volunteers, they're gonna leave. They're not gonna stay very long, even if they're getting paid. I mean, this is supposed to be a side project type of thing for them. I think you're gonna have to kind of pick one thing to do. You can't have 5 separate projects running for one person at the same time.
So you're saying I should have other volunteers join in?
Well, if you can get more people, you gotta be realistic too. Your next step is to get 3 people that come for 2 months in a row, right?
That is true. I agree.
And I love the idea of the hackathon where you come back next month instead of the hackathon idea where you stay in the same place for 72 hours.
Right. Yeah, I've done those. When I was with Intel, I don't want to go too far over, but I was at 47 hackathons. We had a reality show, and so I've done the all-nighters and all that. This is supposed to be family-friendly. People have lives and jobs, but we still want to enable people to collaborate in person. We also encourage coffee shop or other external collaborations. And this is, like I said, a different game, so it is one person. I have no due dates or cutoffs. Our expenses are essentially zero. So really, this is an opportunity for local innovation by local innovators. I have support from many, many people above my pay grade, but I just need normal to participate in making their communities better. And there's also additional projects. These are not written in stone. So big thing is to have people want to be involved, and that has been the number one challenge. We've had some people in and out. But your point is well taken. It is correct. I've been at this for a year, so I will only say you are correct. But I'm not giving up.
People who volunteer.
Now we're totally getting up.
Sorry, we have a meeting afterwards.
People who volunteer want to get credit. If you actually do, and that's great, if you have funding or contact with high-level people in this city,
I do.
make there a way for the volunteers to be recognized and connect with those high-level people so they can get hired, get jobs.
Yeah, so we can talk about this later, but yeah, that is absolutely, that's one of the problems I have with Code for America because they don't do that, explicitly don't do that, and I said that is not acceptable, so I was happy to bail on it.
Thank you guys.
Do you have your Do you need your phone?
Thank you, Dan. If you haven't checked out Innovate for Vegas, definitely check out his meetup. And I've actually listened to a few of your podcasts, and I love it. I love the long-form podcasts.
You listen to Different Stories too, even more interesting.
Yeah, well, definitely check out his podcast as well. And just shout out to Dan too, because man, starting a meetup, it's tough, right? And like with attrition and stuff. So it's always great to see people come out in the community and want to give and not expect something back. So always great to see that. So next up, we have Daniel. He's going to be doing retina testing. There's a wafer that worries
No,
me.
don't worry about it. We're good.
No lasers in
Yeah,
people's
I'm
eyes or
gonna I'll be
anything?
the patient today.
Okay.
I'll have a volunteer, someone to come actually put hands on and do the exam. Yeah, that'll be at the end.
Okay, cool. All right.
Do you have Zach on deck? We need to shut the lights for him.
Zach, you're in the back.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yes, this is the demo we want to shut the lights off for later. Thank you.
I'll let you know. It's gonna be at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. Just a reminder, after this meetup, we're going to have like 15-20 minutes. People can socialize, meet each other, ask additional questions. And then following this meetup will be Vegas Programmers Monthly Meetup. We'll be talking about Kubernetes and some of the cool things that coders will be talked about there. There's one more thing, but I forgot. All right.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daniel Lindren. I am the founder of Evoke Technologies, and to quickly explain what Evoke Technologies is, it's a spin-off of my other company, OcuScience. And OcuScience has been around for 2 decades, and we've been focused on eye research and building technologies that are used at eye research institutes and pharmaceutical companies and people in biotechnology who are trying to develop new gene therapeutics and stem cells and other neuroprotective drugs for your eye and for your brain. So, as you can see here, I have this little flash happening here of 20 seconds, and the idea is I'd just like you to watch this, and this will give you pretty much an overview of what I'm about to talk about. And I'll just kind of summarize this slide. It's 20 seconds long. What we're basically doing is that we are focusing on how healthy is your retina. The thing that makes you see. How healthy is that? And we're now developing technology that will let us look at the functional capability of your retina on your smartphone. The technology's been around for 100 years. The technology has been developed to be very, very precise and very, very quantitative, and the information is very robust. It has the ability to track and progress all types of retinal and neurological diseases. The thing about ER, and I'm going to get into the topic about this, but we're going to talk about how the old way was and how our new technology is going to enable everyone having more access to what is going on in their eye health. The problem, increasing blindness worldwide. And it is a huge problem because we have 2 things happening in our human population. We are getting older, staying older longer, as well as we're getting fatter. Okay, so you add age and fat, you start creating a lot of opportunities for pathology. And in this circumstance, we want to, these diseases can happen to you at progression at some onset at some point in your life. And when that happens is very important. You want to know when that's going to be happening, or actually, is it actually your vision changing before you actually have blindness or visual loss. Blindness is very expensive. If If you think about you losing your vision for one day, what would that be worth to you? The cost associated with being blind for a day. Now imagine being blind for the rest of your life. 75% of people who are low vision or blind are unemployed. The cost is associated for over $400 billion worldwide, and the people who should be productive. And then what we really are talking about here is trying to do something about this increasing blindness. And the opportunity is to use early detection. Early detection allows us to do something about it. Now, this is a kind of a busy slide, and a lot of words on here. I'm going to try to summarize this for you. But this is really very important. Most ophthalmic examination systems detect retinal diseases after they're irreversible. That is how, when you look in, they look in your eye and say, oh, yep, you've got a big pathology in the back of your eye. You're going blind. It's already happened. The damage is already there. And that's how we've been basically managing our patient populations for all this time. But now, with the ability to introduce new drugs, we can't wait for those late stages of the disease. We want to catch them at the early stages, because this is where the new gene therapeutics, the new stem cells, the actual drugs will have the most maximal effect. Over to the right, using what we call an electroretinogram as a screening tool for early detection, and I'll talk more about what an electroretinogram is, but we can actually target early detection of the 4 most major forms of retinal blindness, plus a whole bunch of other things, including toxicology or even nutritional deficiencies using our technology. Electroretinogram, the ERG. Okay, I need a show of hands, everyone here. Who here has a smartphone? Everybody has a smartphone. Okay, who here has prescription glasses or has some type of refraction? Okay, you can see a few people with glasses on that, raising their hands, so I think there's okay, how many people here have had an EKG done, right? How to get your heart tested, right? Well, EKG tells basic information about what's going on in your heart. The ERG, the electroretinogram, does the same thing for your eye. It is a basic signal, quantifiable. You can see over here on the left is the ERG heart. This is your conceptual PQRST. And anyone who's ever studied physiology or cardiology knows that you can look at the timing of these different waveforms or the amplitudes of those, and that tells a cardiologist you've got secondary heart block, or there's some other underlying disease. And they read and they interpret that because that's a core piece of what they do in their job. The ERG, excuse me, I'm a little bit of a dynamic walker here. The ERG, on the other hand, is something that has all these different types of waveforms that we can monitor, measure the amplitudes and the different waveforms. But the issue here has been cardiologists take the time to learn to do this. Ophthalmologists learn to do this for their exam, and then they don't use it anymore. Because you have to interpret it. You have to understand these waveforms, these squiggly lines, and you've got to be able to compare that and then know if this is a normal looking ERG or if this is an abnormal ERG. And that's been a major barrier to ophthalmologists wanting to use ERGs in their practice. Try that again. Okay, the problems with ERG. I like this picture up top here. I mean, I think this kind of talks about the antiquated type technology. You can see they have these electrodes in their eye that are very big. They look very, very clockwork orangish, you know? All right, but the problem is the length of time and the tedious administration of this particular exam, as it's always been done in the ophthalmologist's office. The discomfort of those contact lenses in the eye, the complexity of the various waveforms, as I mentioned, because the ophthalmologists need to understand that. They're not useful to clinicians, nothing they can do. Now, think about that. It's not useful for the ophthalmologist to know this information because, okay, I've got this and I know that you've got retinitis pigmentosa in your family, and now that I see you're having some change, up until recently, there was nothing they could do. But now, gene therapeutics, different types of treatments are now available. Isolated to schools, medicines, and research. That was the other thing about ERGs. They made these things very, very, very complex, so only certain organizations were able to afford them and to provide the proper knowledge base of people to use it to actually collect data. So there's only a few ERG places around the world. I mean, there's only a few thousand of them. Compared to like how many EKG places there are, it's almost nothing comparatively. Costs of the systems have been always very large, making it very, very difficult and barrier to actually use the technology. And then, as I said, it was always based on big desktop systems, not portable, not user-friendly, and pretty much needed a PhD to run it. Well, the Smart ERG is the solution. Smart ERG is what we've created at Vogue Technologies. We had an ERG system that was the first portable system, and we actually said, what are we going to do to replace that? And that was to make it so it's going to be low cost and everybody can use it. Because I just saw a show of hands, almost everybody in this room has a smartphone in their pocket. We have created the ability to do testing in 1 minute. We are doing this so you can get some information about the retina. It may not be every piece of information possible, but we can get enough information that when we send it up to the cloud, we can detect if there's underlying pathology. Simple as using your smartphone. That's going to help people adopt it because it's just using an app on something you already got. So familiarity, that makes a big difference when it comes to medical devices. Fast setup using the wearable, I'll show you the wearable biosensor. This design up here is actually an older rendition. I'll actually have a video, I'll show that. But we've made it so it's very comfortable, friendly exam experience. The phone we can program it to talk to you. We do have an app that actually talks you through the process. I won't demonstrate that today, but it's also very important to notice that this is a cloud-based exam and interpretation system. The big barrier is the ophthalmologist didn't want to have to go through the app and try to interpret it. So what we're going to be able to do is send this all over the cloud to a centralized database on AWS and use whatever analysis we want to be able to garner out what is the deltas, what is the changes in the patterns, and send that information as meaningful to the ophthalmologist, to the healthcare provider, and doing that hard work for them. Some of the breakthrough attributes of our patented technology. Let me just run that out. Okay, patented the Smart ERG and the wearable biosensor. Our biosensor allows us to connect onto the body and literally capture the electrical response of the body. And the thing that makes our technology unique is that we are using smartphone or other similar technologies to stimulate the body and know exactly the time of that stimulus. And then the biosensor then collects or records the response of the body, be it the eye in this circumstance, or maybe hearing, or even nerve conduction, and send that information to your phone, which can be used for analysis. So that's really the core of our patented technology. That's where the Fitbit stops. It's where Cardio Mobile stops, and we begin. As I mentioned, we're at lowest cost of exam delivery. We built this so that we can be more equitable around the world, making this technology at a lower cost. Because the problem with blindness is not so much in the United States. The problem with blindness is a developing nation problem. And the rate of people who are blind and the cost to society over there is huge. So that's a big part of what we are focused on. I'd also mention in the United States, though, what really matters is it's got a CPT code. They can get this device, the ophthalmologist, the optometrist, the healthcare provider can get this device, run the test, and there is a code that they can bill against. So this has a free access to the market. It's not that we have to develop a CPT code. It's already there. AI interpretation and telemed support. As I said, we can do all those things for the ophthalmologist, the optometrist, the healthcare provider. Do that through AI, as well as we can have real-life people that are MD and PhDs in telemed support this process worldwide. It's compatible this is a, how am I doing on time here? Okay, good, on 8 minutes. I'm about right on time, I guess, here. Okay, one of the things about our little biosensor, it's not agnostic just to our smartphone. This thing can actually be used on a competitor product or other ophthalmic devices to turn them into an ERG. So we can get more data collection opportunities, more systems out in the world, the more people who can actually get an examination. And we're looking to license this technology to our competitors and other medical devices. The biodata is saved to the cloud for analysis and reporting, as well as we can set up for doing the billing here in the United States, which means we can provide a lot of services and support for the clinics, which of course we'll talk about the fact that that then creates an opportunity for multiple revenue streams. I use the term the trifecta when I was first putting this business model together, because I have a medical device, a capital device for them to purchase. I have a disposable, which will be buying for each time you're doing the examinations. I have a subscription, because we're going to have all this really cool technology up in the cloud that we'll be able to access. But wait, there's more. The things I'll just mention is we want everybody to be certified in training. So that's another thing that everyone's going to be a user. We expect that they can convey what an ERG is and the benefit to their patient base, as well as the referral. This is the other thing that we have a great opportunity in, is that we can actually do intelligent matchmaking between the patient and their particular pathology or disease who's been newly diagnosed, and find or even point them or educate them on what are their options and how can we marshal those people to other partner programs that will be a benefit to them and keep them as part of this whole referral system. And all the way along here, continue to use my device to track, monitor the progression of their disease. And really what we're trying to do here is we're making ERG as accessible as EKG. As I said, we're trying to leap ahead of cardio, mobile, and smartwatch usability. So the next, this is a video. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'll be quiet. It's about 1 minute 40 long during the exam. So I put the patient data in, and now we say get ready for the test.
Is that data from the biosensor?
Yes, it is. That's real-time data being communicated from the biosensor. It's connected to the skin. And basically, once we have the connection, you can see the level of impedance. And then we can do a series of tests in one grouping. We can look and analyze these different tests next to each other as part of the reporting. So now it's done 2 tests, and now it's going to do a 3rd test, which is the flicker test. So now I have a very comprehensive exam that actually gives me enough data to know how your central vision is, your macula, age-related macular degenerations, and other diseases, but you can see clearly the waveforms that are generated and that are being used to analyze and quantify what's going on. I have one other video, but I guess somehow I must have skipped it or I did not play it. I'm not sure, but it's I wanted to show, this is basically the end of my demo. So what I would like to do is show you some other things. And how much time my screen's off here?
About 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes, okay. Okay, all right, let's do this.
We want to see the live demo. Definitely do the live demo.
Okay, all right. So, let's do this. All right, folks. So, I'm going to first show one piece of our technology. How can we make every smartphone in everybody's pocket work as an ERG? That's probably an interesting tech question, isn't it? All right, so the app. All right. And I actually have a couple apps open. This one is actually an app we created. This one's called Phone Tester. So we take this biosensor. This is that little device that we connect to the skin. Show this to you. It's got little buttons on the back, and I'll show you some electrodes, and it'll stick to the side. But before we actually use it for that purpose, we can actually put this little adapter on it, use the photodiode as a calibrator. So this is part of our patented technology. And the other thing that's in patent technology is this is our Ganzfeld generator. So we want to take that single flash, from your phone, got upside down. Take your single flash from your phone. We put it through this little ERG, or egg, which is ERG Ganzfeld generator. It takes it, it bends all the light, and then puts it forward into your eye so you get a pan-round illumination into the retina. So this is another piece of technology we have patented. So, actually, let me pop this out. I'm sorry? Yeah, so we're going to have crossover light in this instance, but we have built this little adapter. You can see, so this will plug in here and reduce the amount of ambient light that will affect the data. Ganzfeld. Wide field. All right. Open it. So now it's going to go in there. You can see it says connected. Tells me what my ambient conditions are, and then I'll just go ahead and run this little test. Hit start, and you can see, if you can, there's a little flashing occurring here, right? On the little side window, those are our little side. So this helps us detect, even when we're in very dim light, that the biosensor can see the flash. But as we're going through here, it's testing the flash at 10 milliseconds. Now it's doing a flicker at 10 hertz. And then it's going to do 3 sets of those. It'll do the same thing at 20 hertz. And then at 20 hertz, it'll capture 3 separate sets. And then it'll do a 30 hertz. I hope this works. It should work. Okay.
Oh.
And then that'll give you the result of what happens in the waveform. So we are actually looking at the actual physical flash capabilities and intensity. Plus, I'm capturing all the data about what's actually this phone's version and model. Now it goes up to the cloud. So now I have something that's a baseline that allows me to compare your ERG that you use for your test compared to someone else's ERG. Okay, so at this point, I need a volunteer. May I have someone be willing to be my technician? Thank you. And walk you through. What's your name? Daniel. Daniel, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'll tell you what, have a seat. Let's just keep this nice and easy on us. Okay, Daniel, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to have you go through the kind of the steps if you were a technician to actually do an ERG on them.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I just want you to get a good sense of how easy it is, and everybody kind of just watch and see.
I'm great with electrodes. I just want everyone to know.
But you're starting with that kind of concerns me. Okay, so what we're going to do is that it's going to be a really simple thing. First step for everything for electrodes or any time that you want to actually test the body is that we need to have a nice clean surface area. So I'm going to have you go ahead, if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to have you clean this area right here to my side and then under my eyelid too. All right, so I just want to get you to get oils. Just rub it, go ahead. You don't have to, just be so you get all oils and everything off.
How close to the bottom of your eyelid?
Right there, you're very good. You're very natural. All right. So now that we have that all set, we're going to have basically two electrodes. So we can open this one up. Go ahead. And we're going to put one of those 2 pads on the back. And that pad is our grounded reference pad, as well as on the back of the biosensor. She's got those 2 little buttons. You might want to just go ahead and push that on there. Both of them, snap them on. There you go, and then just do the peel off. Exactly. Got a good start. Great. Okay, cool. Now you got to go ahead and put down the extra. And now what you're going to do is you're going to place that biosensor right where you clean on the side of my eye. Now I want you to just take one thing in mind. You see that little sensor right there? I want you to try to get that right in line with my eye, because that's where the flash is going to come.
So the sensor should be aligned like that.
You're doing great. Yeah, so this little sensor, just go ahead and set it so it's like right on line with my eye. this off my hair and just kind of forward so it's nice and give it a push and stick. How's that? Okay?
Looks like Spock.
I think I'm good. Okay. All right, so now the next part is I want you to take one of these little electrodes and peel it off, and you're going to go ahead and stick that in.
One?
Either one. They're both, electrodes, so we're really here just to demonstrate the process. We're not going to necessarily worry about how quality the data is for today. And then you're going to put that other one right under my eyelid. Give a good push just so it doesn't fall off.
Don't want your light on.
That's all right.
Not
You
like
have to
last
push
time.
pretty hard, right? I know. You do a little problem go or something. Okay, now we're just going to plug it into the back. Now you see there's a 3-pin connector and it's got the flat part of this to the bottom. Since you haven't done that before, well, wonderful. Good job, man. All right, I'll double check your work. Everything seems really good. Okay, so you got me set up to do an ERG exam. And
This is new time.
this is. I'm telling you what, do I look like a cyborg?
Yes.
Yeah, we went to a show a week or so ago, and we were walking around the floor just like this, and everybody's just like, start looking away. Oh my God. Are they catching me on camera?
Yeah.
We were
Taking a
bunch of
phone
things.
call.
Okay, so I want you to go ahead and see that test that says flash.
Yep.
All right, so this is the time we're going to go ahead and turn down the lights. Okay. Let's see how this turns out. Now, you see that flash now? I want you to look on that screen. It should give you some data. Show everybody in the crowd what that looks like.
You guys can see that.
Now, what that's doing, you can see this thing's flashing, which means it's connected. He's getting my bio data. He's looking at my impedance as well as all my electrodes, so I'm looking at quality of signal. Now, we're not going to have a perfect ERG here because the one thing about my technology, it loves natural light and it loves pure dark light, but it doesn't like any artificial light, so it usually gets some artifacts. But you can see that we are collecting the data, and then go ahead and press the impedance off.
Okay.
And you can see how it should get, looks like the numbers should be coming down and be like 20, 40,
Yep.
turning red.
We're peaking around 40, but mostly around 20.
Okay, super. I want you to go ahead now. This is from the test.
All right,
And then
so
take
hit
that,
run.
put it to my eye. I'm gonna have you come put it to my eye. And I'm gonna set it right in this position and go ahead and hit flash. I got a flash.
All right.
And did you see a result pop up on there?
Good.
All right, well, it's a little noisy, but we can do a moving average and we can see that we're actually capturing our physical response, and I can see that I start having what is a B wave. The longer I stay in the dark, the bigger the signal becomes because our eyes become more sensitive. So this is part of what we can test, is that dark adaptation capability from the time you turn off lights to continually doing test after test to the point we can actually see how well your eye can progress in its functionality of dark adapt, to see in the dark using your rod photoreceptors, as well as having the ability to see with your cone photoreceptors and measure their abilities separately. Okay, you can go ahead and turn the lights on. So that is the general idea of this. I have one little bit more to do if you guys are okay. Now, I want to go do the other part. That is call all this data. Let's make sure I got it done. Right, home. I should. Hopefully this works out like it's supposed to.
Still need my help, or?
Oh, sir. Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the analysis side.
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir. Okay, so this is going to refresh. Oh, wait, how do I switch screens here? Sorry for the technical difficulties here. Let's switch right now to this one. Okay, so we just captured data off off my smartphone, and here is our basic application that's on the web using AWS. We're also connected with Omics. I don't know if anybody knows Health Omics, but we're actually already set up so we can get the phenotypical data, like the functional data, and then the person's gene data, and we can put those two together as part of the whole thing about matchmaking. All right, so we have a few apps. This one's for vet we've been playing with for a while, but I'm going to come here and show you what I just did with that phone tester, right? That was one of the first things to do. And well, we can look in different data here. I'm just going to pull one of these up. As I said, we capture everything about that phone. And we capture all that information about the different abilities. This is a Motorola phone, a cheapie. You can see it's got some jitter in it. It's fairly accurate. It'll work. May not be the best choice. It does a real nice job at 10 hertz flickers. 20, not so good. Not so good for that. So we are having this analysis, and I saw a 20 hertz flicker coming in here. I may not be willing to use that, but if it was a 10 hertz flicker, I know that that's going to be a pretty solid signal. Okay, and then we just continue to stress the system, basically, with a 30 hertz flicker, because we just want to know the bandwidth and capability. The phones are not the same really from one aspect, and that just comes down to, well, two aspects. One is the Android operating system that they're using, version, and then the code, the quality of the code. Not everybody makes quality fast code. And then the other thing is that it's the processor. The processor should make a huge difference. The last thing I'm going to show here was looking at the actual data. So look here. Oh, that's fantastic. Not bad. Let's go smart ERG. And actually, let me see if I can. I'm going to grab one that's actually a little bit a while back. So this one gives an example where we've taken 5 flashes and we averaged those up. And that piece right in here, at about 50, beginning at 50 milliseconds, we know is what we call a V wave, which is a rod-only function. And then we can come in and we can look at the standard flashes and look at common signal between those two. And that gives us enough data to actually do analysis. So that pretty much concludes my demonstration. I guess one of the things that everyone saying in this room is I have some asks. And I'm wondering if any of you fit any of my asks, and let me know if you do or have an interest in discussing them. One of my asks is if you're an ophthalmologist or healthcare provider or someone who's local who is very interested in trying or using our technology, I would like to talk to you about that because I'd like to just be able to drive across the way to a clinic. That helps. Our key reference customer, our lead organization is actually Massachusetts Eye and Ear Institute in Boston. So whoever we work with will also be working with Harvard Med on this project. So it's a good thing for credibility. And that was my one ask. The second ask is that we are raising money. We're trying to bring this technology on and get our clinical assessments and get all our FDA and get this distributed around the world. So if you like what you see and this is something that you would like to help me take to the world, I'm looking for people to help me do that. The other big part here is I'm looking at stakeholders. If you happen to be a medical device company that's interested in this technology, or if you're a stakeholder and knowing someone who works in the blind community or those who really are interested in fighting blindness, please let them know about this technology. We're looking for partnerships and looking for people who help contribute to bringing this technology forward. So that concludes my presentation. I really do appreciate it.
We ran over time, so I would say that if you have questions, let's do it right after Sammy closes us out here.
Yes. Okay. So sorry. It's about 5 minutes until the next set of presentations. So we're actually going to cut directly to the meet and greet. Our 3 presenters today. Thank you again so much, Sri from Zoho, that opening presentation on Catalyst. If you have other questions about that, please feel free to chat with her. We have Dan over here with Open Transit and that innovation space. And then, of course, Daniel with this really cool demo that we got to see live. And our other demo for volunteering and turning into a doctor. Please feel free to chat with anyone in the room or any of our presenters. And, of course, a couple final reminders. If you would like to present in June or July, feel free to scan that and fill out our form. I will personally reach out to you and have a conversation with you about what that demo looks like. I love helping brainstorm and seeing how we can make this a really good, fun use of everyone's time. At 4 o'clock, we will be doing the 2-year anniversary celebration for Tech Alley. So if you want to join us back where we had lunch, we'll be able to do that again. And then thank you so much to Joshua for organizing and coordinating this. If you guys are staying for the next session, Vegas programmers will be meeting here with Joshua as well.
Yeah. And one last thing, if anybody wants to reach any of our presenters, their contact details are on the meetup.com. So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Hey,